If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's the Think Generational Wealth podcast with your host, Amir Estimo. Little by little. That's an interesting thought. Little by little. I don't know if any of you guys have kids, but I have a 3-year-old. And the one thing she likes to say is, for example, if we're giving her water, she says, little by little, Dad, little by little. And the reason I say that is because I've been studying about habits lately. So what got me interested is first I read the book, The 7 Habits by Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And then a colleague of mine, a good friend of mine, recommended the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And honestly, this is probably the first book that I've took my time with, where I'm actually just learning and I am practicing, taking action. Because what James Clear does in this book is he gives you formulas too that you could apply, which for me, I've studied about, that was one of my goals for 2020 was to learn about habits and how to have better habits. Because when you look at the high net worth, I think what differentiates them from us, or what shows what's different from them from us, is that they have better habits than we do. The middle class and the high net worth and so on, it's all about habits. And I think so many of us, when we think of generational wealth, and I know the podcast is Think Generational Wealth, but the one thing I like to do with this podcast is not just talk about Think Generational Wealth. I mean, we'll get to that, but it's to really dive deep into the mindset. Because I think if you're going to leave generational wealth for the next generation, you got to have the mindset of it. And I know so many of us is under the impression that when it comes to building generational wealth, it's like we want to be able to eat the whole pie at once, but we don't want to be able to break the pie into pieces. The human mind, that's how we think. It's truly how we think. We really, truly think that everything has to be done at once. And it doesn't have to. And that's the one thing James Clear reiterates in his book, The Atomic Habits, is everything can be done in small pieces. And there's 4 laws of habits that he talks about in this book. And he talks about the cue, craving. Then he talks about the response and then the reward. I think those were the 4 laws that he talks about. I mean, he goes more into like make it look easy, make it attractive, and so forth. So if you get a chance, read the book, The Atomic Habits. It is an awesome read. I highly like I said, like for me, my goals this year was not just to read books, just to read, but actually just read books and put into action. Because I think knowledge without implementation of action is worthless. Like I've been battling fear of making sales call. I dreadfully hate it. I dreadfully hate it. And I think for me, in all honesty, was for this past week, I've been doing it here and there, and then I'm kind of lollygagging because I think for me is I've programmed my mind from have to. What James Clear says in this book, The Atomic Habits, he says it's not about have to. He says just change one way you look at it to get to. You don't have to make these sales call or have to go to work. You have change that to get to. And I thought, oh man, that's pretty neat. That's something now I'm going to take into action. I'm going to put into more action. Like even recording this podcast, I put it on my calendar, and I haven't recorded pod since the 31st, since last year, and we're already in the 15th year, 15th day of the new year, 2020. So really put in perspective, we have 350 days already left. Time is just flying, folks. But when it comes to generational wealth, it doesn't have to be done all at once. Because when you look at the United States, we're consuming culture. We are high consumers. And it's because we're constantly being fed. If you look at TV, you don't know how many, I can't sometimes lose count of the amount of commercials. And they're enticing. But if anybody ever read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, Napoleon talks about this. He talks about how when you don't have control in your mind drifts. And when your other self, which is the devil, not figuratively, just, I just want to make sure people understand that the title is misleading, but it's a very good book. And then the devil can be able to control your mind. And he's even control your mind through television. I'm not going to lie. When football season, I am a big sports fanatic. I watch sports year round, except probably the off season. I mean, I watch football. I don't watch football as much as I used to, but I still do. Basketball, I love basketball. I like watching soccer. I like the tournaments in soccer. But I realize if I'm going to achieve my goals this year, I'm going to have to wean off that. And I'm going to have to do things little by little. So now my mind is not, I have to make phone calls. I'm training myself to get to. And I get to build generational wealth. Because I am still existed on this planet, I have a chance to still build generational wealth. So you don't have to think of, generational wealth, it's not just about money. I've said this. It's not about the money, but it's about the thought. It's about leaving a legacy and changing the world, making a change in the world. So this book, James Clear, has really, really made me think. Reading it, reading this book has been, it's been one of the books I've said that I've taken time reading. I'm not even trying to. I'm trying to, because he'll give you a formula. Like you'll have a habit, and he'll say, after I complete the habit, and then you can implement the new habit that uh, you like to implement. For example, let's say you like to watch Netflix. You like to binge on Netflix. Okay, and to a certain degree we all do. But you need to work out. So let's say you have a stationary bike. You can put your tablet or video screen, turn on Netflix, and ride that stationary bike. That's an example he gave when it comes to a habit you like to do, and then implementing a new habit, which is the stationary, riding the stationary bike. So, generational wealth, when it comes to building wealth, it doesn't have to be done all at once. I mean, it doesn't have to be done all at once. I think, it's crazy because these days they give you points for even shopping. Shopping, you get points. I mean, they have people who's extreme couponers who go in there, and rack up $600 worth of grocery and end up paying like $20. Sometimes it just takes you thinking of outside the box. I mean, there's a lot of programs. I mean, the banks, we're not. Let's be real, we're not making a lot of money in the banks. But even if you're able to put some money, maybe an online savings bank, who knows? There's apps like Stash that's out there. I mean, there's all these things, these tools that are out there that we can use to our advantage. We can make generational wealth fun, but we have to be able to take it little by little. That's a phrase that my daughter loves to say, little by little. But at the end of the day, I'm really thankful that I got to record this pod. But like I said, it's even for me, I'm like, well, I should be able to do 3 podcasts a week. But maybe instead of doing 3, start with 1. And if somebody can take action today, and let me tell you something, I guess I don't have it all figured out. I really don't. And actually, today I was working on a real estate deal, and my numbers were wrong. Life, you either learn or you win. There's no losing in life. But I look at that, okay, you know what? I should do more due diligence, number 1. And number 2, I took action. This is one step that I took that I didn't take the day before. So I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to understand, all right, what I need to do. But I like the fact that I took action, I got feedback, and now I have to go do my due diligence. And if the deal doesn't go through, so what? It's okay because I got to learn. Because I've been doing real estate for almost a year. I'm like, I call myself a real estate investor, but I don't take action. But the fact now I'm taking action, I'm making little cold calls now, sales calls, prospecting. That's more than I did a month ago. I just need to take more action, be consistent. So as I finish read this book by James Clear about Atomic Habits, I would like to just be able to talk about this book. And I've been studying, and habits have been my focus. And I want to become us because we're creature of habits. We are. So once again, I recommend the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And one of the 7 habits of Stephen Covey, he talks about begin with the end in mind. I leave you with that thought. Begin with the end in mind. So when you're building generational wealth, every expense that comes out of your pocket could be put somewhere else. That could be building a generational wealth for your kids. There's so many things out there we don't know about. IULs, people don't hear about those. Do some research. Go on Google today and look up IULs, Index Universal Life. Look up some of these life insurance programs that are out there. So thank you for listening, whoever is listening. I do appreciate. And my goal is to be as consistent as much with this. And I just want anybody who's listening to the pod not to just be, oh, well, this is supposed to be about generational wealth. But I think we need to have the right mindset. You need to change your mindset before you can actually be doing it. But by changing your mindset requires you to take action. And by taking action, take little steps. I will let you guys know about my progress with my sales call. If something is out of my element, I'm a data guy. I love numbers, but I don't like sitting on the phone talking to people. But it's great to talk to people because now I'm learning to negotiate. That's Jim Rohn says, don't wish for more problems, wish you were better. Wish for more skills. That's what I'm doing. I'm building more skills to be the person I need to be to make the income I want to make. All right? So what should everybody be thinking? Generational wealth. All right, till next time, guys.